Hey there, TRASTRA fans. Hello, Internet. Boy, do I have a treat for you today. I recently had a chance to sit down with the principals behind the Libra Incentix platform. Uh, in short, it's all about tokenizing rewards. Airline points, whatever rewards and discounts and referral programs some retailers, large and small, offer. There is a way to actually turn those points into real tokens, put them on the marketplace, and trade them, etc., etc. I mean, the sky's the limit here. So these are the guys that are implementing this solution on the blockchain. If you've been watching this channel, if you've been watching our TikTok videos, you know that I'm on the quest to actually find a real use case for blockchain. Because I used to listen to people like Nicholas Weaver who said that, if you try to solve X with blockchain, you don't understand X and you don't understand blockchain, so you can be safely ignored. So I'm on the quest to find real use cases, not just speculative investments, in cryptocurrencies, but real life use cases for this technology to really shine. And I think Libra Incentix is one of those cases. You be the judge. Enjoy.
Okay, gentlemen. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Welcome to our little talk. Lix platform, Lix token. This is what we're going to be focusing on today. Andrew, thank you so much for doing this. And I was wondering if we could get started by asking you to talk a little bit about your project, because to me it's absolutely fascinating. We've had a chat before. I don't know if you're aware or not. We had a chat with Brian before, and I'm personally, even before I started working for TRASTRA, I was in the space for many years, and I'm fascinated by the concept of blockchain. And my quest is finding an actual use case for it, because we have a lot of platforms, a lot of businesses out there, especially in, I'm sure you're aware that in 2016, 2017, there's been a time when you couldn't get funding in fintech unless you called yourself a blockchain platform. So things have changed dramatically since then, or have they? This is basically the question that I'm looking for an answer to. And if we can, consider all this on the example of Libra Incentix, that'd be great. So
Sure.
here you go. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Anton. Appreciate the intro and pleasure to be here. Thanks for having an interest in what we're doing. I think it is really exciting. And one of the major reasons why it's exciting, as you just said, is that so many of these blockchain startups, they're very clever, but they're quite complicated. And there's quite a steep learning curve for the normal members of the public to appreciate why a token can have value, right? You need to really understand the industry and some of the technicalities behind that very clever project. But how many people are truly interested enough to learn about these things to really appreciate the value? And I think not that many in the grand scheme of things. Whereas with what we're doing with Libra Incentix, we're bringing a concept that the whole world understands very well, which is loyalty points and reward systems. And we're tokenizing it. So we're bringing the blockchain tech to a concept that doesn't require any special education, and we're making it a more mainstream deliverable. And I think that's quite exciting. And so far, what we've noticed is that a lot of brands and a lot of sports clubs, which is interesting, are really keen to tokenize how they reward their customers or their members or their users or whatever. And I think off the back of that interest, obviously we formed a company, we raised some money, we now have a team, we have an office, and we're trying now to make it as mainstream as you can and use our strategic partnerships to take it everywhere around the world.
So let's go a little bit in depth into the actual, I don't want to say day-to-day operations of Libra Incentix, because, we're not going to touch any administrative subjects, but I'm really interested in what you guys actually do. If you don't mind, I'm going to, so the quote, like the first the first page of your website. The Lix platform is the leading blockchain-based B2C rewards marketplace. Lix connects brands and consumers through customizable loyalty tokens. So I see two things to unpack here: rewards marketplace and customizable loyalty tokens. Could you talk a little bit about those? What are
Sure.
rewards marketplaces that you're focusing on, and what exactly do you mean by customizable loyalty tokens?
Yeah, sure. Good question. So firstly, we are a loyalty management system. Okay, so a brand can use our platform and configure their own loyalty management logic and distribute rewards to their consumers for completing certain tasks. Okay, those tasks could be engagement tasks, such as follow me online or share with a friend or post something on my Twitter, whatever is engaging with your brand. Or it could be shop with us, spend money with us, right? Either in store or online. And via API integration, all of our rewarding features, which are completely customizable, can be embedded into your point of sale, can be embedded into your e-commerce platform, or whatever, right? Or a more manual task, maybe even something like following on Facebook, can be delivered by a user. They can upload a screenshot into the app, and then the admin will approve that that person actually has done what they said they're supposed to do, and then they receive a reward. Now, the reward that comes to them can be in multiple forms. For a major sporting event in Qatar last year, we delivered our reward system into the point of sale across all of the fan zones in Qatar. And everybody was receiving our discount points, which is one type of reward that we offer. Discount points are just points. They're not a cryptocurrency. They're literally just the points. But if you accumulate enough of them, you can then unlock a discount within our marketplace. And in our marketplace, we were listing multiple big fashion labels, cinema chains, and restaurants, for example, who are accepting our discount points as a form of discount on whatever they were selling, right? And then we managed to sell that concept in Qatar to companies like Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger and Levi's and Aldo and Novo Cinemas and multiple other mainstream brands, which, considering how small we are and how young we are as a business, I think was seen to be as something quite impressive, which is great. But that's just one type of point. The other type of point is backing your points to cash. So literally having a point that is backed by dollar or yen or euro or whatever you want. And then you, as the owner of a brand, can reward people with cash points that the users can actually see the monetary value of in real time through the Lix application. And then if they want, they can redeem their cash points against a point of sale that is integrated with the Lix, or within a website that is integrated with the Lix, and get the cash equivalent. Or they can just withdraw that cash to their Stripe or to their PayPal account, because we've done the integration with these two payment providers. The third type of point is scrapping all that completely and using our utility token, which is the Lix token. This is obviously what we'd like people to do the most. We want to get the utility of this token as high as it possibly can be, because that's a massive part of our business model, as you can imagine. It's not necessarily the only option, but it's one of the big ones. And in that instance, you get all the same value as a loyalty point. You can still use it to unlock discounts. You can still use it to make a transaction with the monetary equivalent of that token. But over time, if more brands adopt it and if more consumers use it, then the value of that token may increase, which is quite an interesting concept. If you're receiving a loyalty reward that goes up in value over time, that's not something normal in the industry. So that's kind of the solution that we're trying to implement. And we've done that, as I said, with some big brands, and especially with the event in Qatar last year. And that was probably the biggest platform so far. And now we want to kind of replicate that on a more permanent scale, because obviously the tournament was a pop-up restaurant situation. It was up for 3 weeks and it was down. Now we want to have something more long-term.
I noticed a list of brands like logotypes on your website, and it says join the something kind of ambiguous. I couldn't really make out whether these are current clients or someone you had negotiations with, or these people are actually using the platform already, because the list is extremely well, it's substantial. There are some global brands
Yeah,
there that are just.
right.
I wanted to, have you
Yeah,
go through those a little bit. Maybe there are
sure.
someone, yeah, that you wanted to focus on in particular. Some of
Sure.
your
So
partnerships.
all of those brands you see were customers of ours. They were users of the Lix platform, but only in Qatar, right? So Tommy Hilfiger, everywhere else in the world, doesn't know who we are. But if you go to Vendo Mall in Qatar, which is like a big mall in Doha, and you have your Lix points, you're going to get like a 20% discount on your purchase, which could be quite substantial in value. And that's actually something that we find very interesting because typically crypto projects, they're very much dependent on their value on the exchange. Whereas, of course, we care about our value on the exchange, but even if the value on the exchange is very low, like a fraction of a penny, inside the Lix marketplace, it can unlock a 20% discount at Tommy Hilfiger. So inherently, that means it has value inside the ecosystem, although it might not have value on the exchange. And I think if we can have as many use cases as possible that unlock real world discounts in major stores, then naturally the value on the exchange is also going to go up, right? So that's kind of a big part of the business model. But sorry, to go back to your question, Anton, yes, all of those companies on the website that we list were working with us during that World Cup period, and they trusted us to be their or one of their loyalty solutions.
Well, let me just sort of shift to the question that I consider a tough one. I don't know, maybe it's an easy one for you because you've already been asked something like that and you've already, prepared an answer. I don't know, but I'm going to ask you. We've had loyalty programs for many decades. As far as I know, like for example, air travel miles go back to 1979. To me, it's a natural question. Why blockchain? Is
Yeah,
it
it's a good
something you
question.
cannot do without? I mean,
It's a
because
great question.
I've listened to many interviews. I heard a lot of people say that blockchain is a solution to pretty much everything that's wrong with the financial system, with the business. A fellow, I don't know if you're familiar with who he is, Nicholas Weaver. He's a computer scientist, IBM. He's a lecturer, researcher, and so on and so forth. So this guy says something that I wholeheartedly agree with, and I was wondering if you can just um, convince me otherwise. I mean, the saying
Mm,
goes, if you if a person claims that they can solve X with blockchain, that means they don't understand X and they don't understand blockchain, and you can just ignore them. So I think it's a huge challenge. That answering this question is a huge challenge for someone who's building their business on this technology. And I just
right.
wanted to throw it to you and see how you react. What is your response to that?
Sure. Yeah. Firstly, I get questioned why are you using blockchain all the time? Are you just trying to use it as a gimmick, And I can see why somebody would think that. But when you start to understand the complexities of managing complex coalition models, you start to appreciate why blockchain is a game changer for this industry, right? And a perfect example of this is airlines. As you know, the airlines are probably the best in the world at managing loyalty, right? Everybody accumulates points from their airlines. But the value of a point that is given to you by, let's say, American Airlines, it has a literal monetary value. It's like 1.5 or 2 cents, for example. So if you accumulate a whole bunch of points, then they're equal to a certain amount of money. If you use those points back at American Airlines, you get the full value because they were the issuer of those points. But you don't have to use the points with American Airlines. You can use them at the numerous hotels, car rental shops, numerous restaurant chains around the world. And when you use those points at other places within this ecosystem, the value of the points are not 2 cents anymore. They're like half of the value or 2/3 of the value. And the remaining is going back to the airline for every single transaction. So what this means is that you can have hundreds of thousands of people all over the world accumulating points and redeeming them at different values within different rules at the same time. So that means that American Airlines has a massive team to manage this reconciliation and the settlement of the reward values. And this is a massive admin overhead, right? What we can do with smart contracts is take all the rules that govern a loyalty program, like a complex coalition model, and embed them into the code of a smart contract. so that when the smart contract is executed, whether or not a point has been rewarded to the correct person at the correct value within the correct rules is indisputable. Okay, and that is very powerful, because it means that a small company that doesn't have the budget to build a very complex coalition model can start to build a complex coalition model, but without all of the additional cost, because LIX and LIX's smart contract technology is going to manage 99% of that admin overhead for you in an automated fashion. So that alone is a big reason why what we're doing on blockchain makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately, obviously, using smart contracts and using the public blockchain is expensive. Every single transaction, every single piece of data you put there costs money. So that's why in phase 2 of our project is to start to build a private blockchain, which is where we can reduce the gas fees down to next to nothing, and it becomes a more viable solution for the long term. But does that answer your question?
Oh, well, partly. This thing's been going on for decades, for many years. Different companies have had their private ledgers where they saw different clients buying different things, and they were able to manage that with Microsoft Excel. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're not necessarily claiming that there's something wrong, but we are claiming that we can do it better. And we believe that blockchain technology, especially the smart contract element, is really efficient at automating some of these transactions and capturing the rules, which can be quite complex, at massive scale. And that means that you can save money and save time and save costs and apply that effort to more important parts of your business. So I think that alone, I think, makes a lot of sense. But there are other use cases for blockchain. You know, the one I mentioned where you can have points equal to a token that can potentially increase in value. That's exciting. If somebody earns a loyalty point for spending $10 and that point becomes $10 in 1 year's time, wow, like you've got 100% return for buying something. This is cool, right? People would appreciate that. So there's lots of really good use cases to, I think, justify why we're doing what we're doing. And it's being validated because people are excited about it. We have a big community, more than 20,000 people constantly asking about what we're going to do next. And it's because it is exciting and people already understand it. You don't really need to explain, as I said earlier, you don't have to explain loyalty to them. They're already part of, I think the average person is part of 14 loyalty programs over the course of their life, 14, right? And that's too many. If we can start to consolidate them all into one place and to start to manage all of the rules and all of the different logic in a single platform, it can really start to solve some problems that people resonate with everywhere. You know.
Well, in terms
Can I
of
just
regular,
make a comment here? Yeah, so I think the industry has actually moved quite quickly into this space, and many companies, especially the really big companies, for example, Hilton Hotels, and even a core hotel group. And I think the latest one is Emirates Group, right? I mean, Emirates has a loyalty program called Skywards, right? And they have actually, relaunched the scheme as a blockchain loyalty platform called Skyward Miles. This platform really allows the members to earn and redeem, miles across a network, right, of many different companies. But more importantly, across a ecosystem of hotels, car rental companies, and retail outlets. I think we're all kind of quite familiar with that. And using this platform, customers can immediately redeem loyalty points across the network. But I think so far this has been at the reserve of really big companies that already has a trusted ecosystem that they can actually leverage. But I think the LIX Libra Incentix mission is to really try to bring this to the masses, not just at the biggest companies in the world, but also there are many medium to large size conglomerates that has so far heard about blockchain and loyalty scheme, but they haven't really explored too much into that, right? And we can ask ourselves, why have they not really looked into this in a bit more depth? I mean, that there seemingly is a lack of awareness and understanding. They think that the blockchain technology is too complicated for them to understand how this is to be implemented. And also in the conversations that me and Andrew has been having, a lot of these conglomerates, even a mid to large size hotel, they find it very challenging to integrate with the existing system. But blockchain actually is a key enabler, to actually bring all of this together. I mean, blockchain technology has many, many benefits, for the masses, right? I mean, the increased security, that a blockchain, network provides to the company. It's completely transparent. It's public ledger. Anyone can see, where the points are being earned, who's redeemed the point, what is left in my wallet, and the accountants don't really need to think too much about the points once it leaves their wallet, right?
No.
That's greatly reduced fraud, right? But I think a lot of the customers they worry about the loyalty scheme because it's actually quite expensive to administer. A traditional loyalty scheme itself, right? So, but blockchain technology has a key benefits of actually lowering the cost of actually administering this loyalty scheme for your company, but also across the ecosystem of the partners and the networks that you might have. Yeah, so I think we're still at the very, very early stage of the adoption, and we would love to actually bring this concept not just reserved for the biggest companies in the world, but actually start to layer it down to the next level as well.
One thing that I've always had a problem, well, not a problem with, I've always been curious about this concept. The concept of, you mentioned it, transparency. You mentioned Hilton, you mentioned some of the big names in global international business. I mean, top people. There are layers and layers and layers of intermediaries when it comes to companies of that size. And I was wondering if what you do will really affect the quantity of those intermediaries. How is it that you are shortening the journey between the product consumer and the benefit consumer gets out of that product? You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Did I go too long, or it's like I do
No,
those long preambles because
no, I think it makes sense.
I just I think about it all the time.
Sure.
So it's basically
Yeah. Yes, interesting point. For me, you said that there's a trusted intermediary managing, people's money, for example, or managing whatever processes are being managed. But I think people's trust in those trusted intermediaries are becoming less so, right? Especially if I work in emerging markets a lot. I do a lot of consultancy within Africa, Southeast Asia, for example. These guys don't trust their own governments, their own banks, let alone a company. Okay, so I think when we say transparent, showing anyone who wants to see on the blockchain or in a smart contract the rules that govern your loyalty program, the value of your points and where they can be redeemed and the value they can be redeemed at any point in time, that you can go back and see forever. That level of transparency, I think, is quite encouraging for certain people that don't have much trust in businesses or in anyone at the moment. And that's the whole point of decentralized networks, right? Is to start to stop trusting an individual or a entity and to start spreading that trust across, multiple places or multiple nodes or multiple people or whatever. I'm not saying it takes away potential corruption. I'm not saying it stops, all types of fraud. Of course, it doesn't. Unfortunately, crypto is a space where there's a lot of fraud. It's a massive shame, but it's reality. So I don't think we're in a position yet, and regulation will definitely bring us to this position, but we're not yet in this position where it takes away the need for trust completely. But I do think it does pave a pathway towards a point where everyone can be more trusting about the tech that they use or the companies they work with or how their money is managed or how their loyalty points are managed or whatever. And that's a good thing. And it's a really good thing in certain parts of the world. And I think a lot of people relate to that.
Excellent. Well, let's switch to sort of a technical sort of things, because I tried looking up your token. I take it you're not listed yet.
No.
And it's
so,
let's talk about that. I want you to give me a skinny
on
the actual token.
Absolutely. So the token's called LIX, LIXX. It's going to be listed in March. I don't think I'm allowed to say where yet, but it's a top 10 exchange. centralized exchange. We toyed with the idea of going on the exchange last year because obviously we wanted to use it as a tool to raise some capital, but I didn't want to do that until I knew that we had genuine utility of the token. And so many early projects, you buy into them on the premise that in a few years' time, you'll be able to use the token in some ecosystem or some metaverse. And I didn't want to do that, right? We could have done, but we chose not to. But now we've demonstrated that companies actually adopt our product and we can integrate it with mainstream point of sale devices. And we can do it quickly. And we did it quickly for the event in Qatar. So now I think we've showcased some genuine potential and real utility of the token. Now we feel confident in going to the market and providing something that we think is very valuable to the wider population. So we're going to start that in March. Alongside one of the large centralized exchanges, we'll put it on the usual decentralized exchanges too. And we'll see how the trading volume looks this time next year.
Have you given any thought to integrating your token in the DeFi space? How that's going to go down? I mean, do you guys have any plans to create an app around it, or if you're talking to somebody who's planning on creating an app around it, or do you want to handle it yourselves, or what's the?
No, we don't want to handle it ourselves. No, we'd like to work with other dApps or other maybe partner with some other DeFi projects to go down that route. At the moment, we've put all of our focus on building our system, making it functional, obviously getting the token ready. And we have our mobile app as well, which is going to be available on both Android and Apple, I think, within the next few weeks. So that's been our focus. But of course, as soon as we get on the exchange, we know there's going to be a big demand and a big interest from the decentralized space the DeFi space. And yeah, we want to partner with appropriate partners that allow us to achieve great things in that area. Hasn't really been a massive focus in the last couple of months, though, to be honest.
So in terms of geography, you mentioned that the majority of your current clients are in Qatar, in that part of the world or something. I was just wondering if, like, for example, I'm in the European Union or someone out there in, I don't know, Australia, can they take advantage of what you do right now? Not a year from now, but right now.
Absolutely. Yes. So we're not a Middle Eastern company by any means, but obviously we had a fantastic opportunity to demonstrate our product at a massive sporting event, the biggest in the world, in Qatar. So we took that opportunity and I think we delivered in terms of showcasing what we can do. We don't have thousands of retailers and lots of restaurants, but it's a great step, I think, in the right direction. But in terms of geographies, we really are open to do business anywhere. Obviously, there are certain countries where we cannot provide the crypto element of what we're doing because it is illegal in certain places, but we can still provide the cash point solution and we can still provide the discount point solution. And there's a whole revenue stream to come off the back of that. So it's a big part of our business model. But yeah, to answer your question, we have very much a global strategy and ambition.
So yours is a BTC schema, right? Business, B2B or BTC? I haven't quite caught that. Do you work with businesses, right?
Yeah, B2C. So a business can adopt LIX, and then they can configure how their consumers can earn their LIX rewards. And it's not just actually in retail and restaurant. It can also be within a business as an employee incentive scheme. So we've just integrated with an ERP provider. And these guys want to use LIX as a reward internally for when certain like project management tasks get delivered on time, for example, or when the key performance indicators within their HR module are above 90%, for example. They want to give employees real-time rewards throughout the month. Instead of having appraisals at the end of the year, they want to reward all the small steps over the course of the day using our system. And that's obviously very much an internal system, but it's the same principle and it's the same marketplace that you can spend your points in, but it's a different use case. But I think that's quite an interesting one as well. But yeah, that would be, I guess, B2B, but typically with B2C.
The reason I'm asking, TRASTRA is a crypto wallet based in the European Union, and it's basically a banking solution for digital nomads, anyone who wants to get paid in crypto, and it's a comprehensive solution. So you get a Visa card, you get a crypto wallet, you get 7 cryptocurrencies that people usually prefer to get paid in. And I was wondering, I mean, let's just fantasize about the situation. How would we integrate? Like, can we be, useful to each other? What you guys do and what we do. Like we have, I'd say, a couple of 100,000 client list, and you guys have a tech that I think is very, very promising. So how do we uh, just, let's fantasize, let's map out a fantastic project. Like tomorrow we get together and start doing business. What can
Yeah.
we actually do for each other?
Yeah, firstly, I'd love to work with you, Anton. More than happy. But how would it work? I mean, for us, we would obviously like the idea of Lix as a token or a cash point to be withdrawn from ATMs through your product. Is that really kind of what you provide, right? This ability to withdraw your tokens as cash.
Well, yeah, well, you have to exchange it for euros first, but once you have it, the euros land in a bank, and that bank issues a Visa card, and you can use that Visa card all over the world, just like you would any other regular Visa.
Yeah, great. So if you could adopt Lix as one of those options, or Lix cash points, or both as one of those options, as ways for people to utilize your platform, that would be very interesting for us. And I'm sure there's something we can do around that. And perhaps you have other ideas. I mean, I'm open to collaboration, absolutely.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking all kinds of reward programs, referral programs. I mean, sky's the limit. It's if your tech allows, this is why I wanted to emphasize that we're fantasizing, because we don't have right now. We're just basically a banking solution for anyone who's on the road or wants to get paid in crypto, wants to pay people in crypto. So, but what you're saying is that there's a tech out there, and I'm talking about Lix, that can really help us expand our rewards program. Tell people that with Lix token, they can engage with all kinds of retailers that you guys are that you're tight with, and get rewards from them. And those rewards can be basically recycled into cash through our API. So that's like, whoa. it's
Yeah,
pretty,
absolutely. It sounds great. For me, when I fantasize about Lix, I like it. I like to think of it as like a future Amex. Like you get your Amex points using your American Express card. I'd like people to earn their Lix tokens for using a fintech solution of some sort, which could perhaps be yours, for example. So every time somebody uses it to make a purchase or to do whatever it is they do on your platform, they can earn a Lix token. And then those Lix tokens obviously accumulate into some monetary value, or they can be utilized as a reward in the marketplace. I think that's something that is really interesting.
Great. Well, listen, hopefully we'll get it going at some point.
I was just wondering what your opinion was, in addition to what you've already said. Like, do you think that there will be a mainstream demand?
I believe in mainstream. The fact of the matter is, crypto is already in the mainstream. So I think that stage we've already way past that. The real problem to me remains the actual use cases, and I think you guys have one. I think it sounds very solid. It's great. I keep hearing things like I see exchange protocols and all kinds of DeFi craps growing all over the place, and I really don't know how to deal with all that. I don't know how to deal with wrapped stable coins and all kinds of algorithmic garbage that gets on the blockchain. And I think that cryptocurrency and all the digital assets globally accessible need to be regulated by the World Trade Organization. This is my opinion, not a committee, not the United Nations committee of some sort on financial international thing, not by FinCEN, God forbid. But there has to be a dedicated committee at the World Trade Organization that regulates cryptocurrency, because it's a commodity, in my opinion. It's not a security, but it's a commodity. Have you given any thought to that? Have you considered anything? Because I fantasize about these things a lot.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. I think regulation absolutely has to happen. And until it does, no one, especially the VCs, for example, are going to trust the smaller coins, right? Why would they? They're only going to look at the big boys. And I think regulation is a great thing. And it will take away the risk that people associate to crypto most of the time. I'm sure there'll always be opportunists out there, but 90% of the scams are going to disappear if it's very difficult for you to create a token and start pretending that it has value in some nonsense platform, because there's so many projects like that. So hopefully regulation will stop that from being possible. And, you know, that's only a good thing for the market. It's a good thing for the market where there are serious projects actually trying to add real value. It's a bad thing for companies doing the opposite, obviously, but we're not interested in those.
Yeah,
And so what do you think?
will be.
What do you think about NFTs?
It's an interesting development, but I don't think it has anything. It has any value for what they say. The NFT people say it has value for, like beginner artists, someone who wants to, you know, get some money going, do like fundraising or anything. In technical terms, I don't think it has anything to do with copyright protection or anything else in those terms, because there's just so much, so many red flags on the path to ownership. I've studied that subject in depth about a year ago when they first appeared on an when OpenSea first started, and I read a lot of articles by legal professionals when it comes to ownership of digital assets. It's still a mess. Even today, even in 2023, it was a mess in 2019, but today I don't think we're any closer to actually pinpointing the point of ownership, unless we have a trusted third party like a clearinghouse or whatever.
Yeah, it's a very strange one, NFTs. I think there's like 1 in a million might have success. But the reason I ask is because we're thinking about, because for me, NFTs, they represent some kind of prestige. Like if you have one of the famous NFTs, it's like, oh, wow, people want to talk about it. And it's like a social currency to have one, right? And I kind of want to leverage that social currency aspect inside Lix, because you know how you want to be a gold tier member of American Airlines, you want to be platinum Amex, because it's like a prestige. People like to know that they have extra exclusive rights because they are a gold tier member. And I'd like to have that kind of logic inside Lix, but instead of using standard silver, gold, platinum, I would like to use NFTs. And if you have a particular type of Lix NFT, it demonstrates that you're in the silver category, and then you can go move up to the bronze category or whatever. And I think that's kind of a fun way of managing tiering in a loyalty solution, but using blockchain technology. I'm not saying I'm a massive fan of NFTs, generally speaking, but I think it could have a cool use case in the space of loyalty, you know. Maybe.
Oh, absolutely. If it's a pleasure to look at, you know, from the standpoint of a digital craftsman's ability to actually create digital art. But I mean, we've heard stories, the famous purchase, the $67 million purchase of an NFT that turned out to be an actual scam/fundraising effort on the part of this guy Mitakovan, who basically raised money for his NFT platform and then shut it down, pocketed the cash. You can't cash out $67 million in ETH through a regular bank. It's just not how it works. No bank's going to give you $67 million for ETH.
I think the trouble is, you know, NFT and, you know, blockchain and Bitcoin in the early days is kind of fraught with lots of scams, and they gave the whole industry a bad name. But, you know, as Andrew mentioned, I think the NFT we're still in the very, very early stages of the evolution. You know, and I think, you know, if we look at some of the, you know, the emerging use case here, Starbucks, right, have recently, you know, extended their loyalty program into, you know, as part of the strategy for Web3, and they're incorporating NFTs as a collectible. And they do this to try to engage with their customers, the community, in a deeper way. I mean, you know, and I think having a reputable, you know, partner like Starbucks or someone more reputable like that issuing those, you know, assets, and they're standing by it, it kind of gives a lot of credibility to this industry. I mean, think about, you know, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, right? The gentleman that actually found the golden coin, you know, and this golden coin actually, you know, presents a lot of value, you know, and if a company, a big, you know, a reputable company were to issue an asset like that, but in return, the user would need to, I don't know, engage with this company in a completely different way. And as they're communicating with this company, the shares with their friends, family, and influence acts as an influencer for what the values of this company is doing, then this kind of creates a value. You know, it becomes a natural extension of a loyalty, you know, program, which we found, Starbucks, Web3 strategy quite interesting. And Starbucks is not alone. There are many other companies out there, sports company in particular, that's actually looking
Right.
for ways to NFT to help them to actually, you know, engage with their customers in a completely different way. You know, I think historically it's just one way. You go to the website, you check out Facebook, whatever, you get a certain, you know, a message coming back at you from the company. But with NFT, actually, this becomes a very, very interactive process. That in the journey of you acquiring the NFT asset, there are many, many things that actually, you know, the company can actually think about. How do we actually, you know, use this experience to gather feedback from the customers for, you know, product enhancement, you know, to learn more about what the customers' preference is, so they can actually serve them better. So I think
I
we're
would
still in the
call it
very, very early stages. Yeah.
true. We can already call it like merchandising 2.0, the whole story with NFTs, because it's basically marketing on steroids. I live in France, so I look all over the place. People are walking around with basic fit backpacks. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not. Just look, it's amazing how many people actually have backpacks branded Basic Fit. Why aren't people walking around with backpacks branded Hilton hotels? I've always been wondering about that. Why do people in northern France walk around with backpacks branded Basic Fit? What I'm saying is, utility is key here, and you guys managed to find utility in what you offer. More power to you. This is awesome. From what Andrew is saying, I mean, there's a strategy in that. There's a strategic plan to bring in more retailers, more global chains, and that's a powerful message. Yeah, so we could probably wrap wrap on this positive note.
I think, yeah, really interesting conversation. Thank you very much for your time, Anton. It was
Oh,
very.
absolutely, it was my pleasure. I wanted to
pleasure.
get a conversation going with someone who has really something to offer in this space, and I think I satisfied my craving for now. Thanks.
Cool.
You got it.
Thanks,
Bye.
Anton.